The fluorescent lights of Sterling Technologies hummed above Sophia. Carter's head as she stood frozen in the 20th floor conference room. Her navy blazer suddenly felt too tight. The air tasted like expensive cologne and corporate ambition. "You'll collide the European expansion," Rebecca Sterling said, her voice cutting through the mahogany table like a blade. 6 weeks. You and Julian Hayes. Sophia's stomach dropped. Across the table, Julian's jaw clenched, the only crack in his perfect composure. 3 years of rivalry. 3 years of calculated distance. 3 years of pretending he didn't make her pulse race with equal parts fury and something she refused to name. Now this, she gathered her tablet with shaking hands and bolted the moment Rebecca dismissed them. The elevator button felt cold under her thumb. She pressed it 3 times. 4. Her breath shallow. The doors opened. She stepped inside. "Hold the elevator." Julian's hand caught the door. He slipped in, and the space contracted around them. Sophia moved to the far corner, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the descending numbers. "We need to talk about this," Julian said. "There's nothing to talk about, Sophia. We can barely be in the same room without turning everything into a competition. Then we'll keep it professional." Her voice was ice over fire. "Clear boundaries. Separate responsibilities. You mean you're doing everything possible to prove you don't need me?" The accusation landed like a punch. She whirled on him. "And you'll do everything possible to take credit for my work. Let's not pretend this is anything other than what it is. A forced partnership neither of us wants." The elevator jerked. Hard. The lights flickered once, twice. Emergency lighting bathed them in sickly yellow. The smooth descent stopped, leaving them suspended somewhere between floors. Sophia's heart hammered. She jabbed the lobby button. Nothing. Door open button. Nothing. "Perfect," she muttered, reaching for the emergency phone. "Dead." Julian pulled out his cell. No signal. They both tried, phones raised like talismans. No bars, no escape. "This is unbelievable," Sophia said. "Of all the elevators, of all the times, building management will notice. Someone will come. How long? As long as it takes." Minutes crawled by. The silence grew teeth. Sophia leaned against the wall, eyes closed, but she felt him watching. Always watching. "Why do you hate me so much?" The question was quiet. Dangerous. "I don't hate you. You act like being near me is torture." "Because it is." The words escaped before she could stop them. She turned, her defenses cracking. "You make me feel like I'm not enough. Like, no matter what I accomplish, you'll always be there, doing it better, proving that I still have something to prove." Julian stared at her. Something shifted in his expression, something raw and unguarded. "That's what you think? That I'm trying to prove you're not good enough? What else am I supposed to think? Every project I lead, you're there with a better idea. Every success I have, you match it within weeks. It's exhausting, Julian. Then stop competing. I can't." Her voice broke. "If I stop, I disappear." He closed the distance between them. In the dim light, his features were softer, stripped of their usual armor. "You could never disappear, Sophia. You're the most visible person in every room you enter." Her breath caught. She should step back. Should rebuild the walls? Should remember all the reasons why this man was her rival and nothing more. But she didn't move. "This is a mistake," she breathed. "Probably," Julian agreed, his voice low. "But I'm tired of pretending." "Pretending what?" "That I don't notice you. That I don't think about you. That competing with you isn't the best part of my day because it means I get to be near you." Her heart slammed against her ribs. This was wrong. This was complicated. This was everything she had spent 3 years avoiding. Then his hand touched her face, gentle and questioning, and every logical thought scattered. When his lips met hers, it wasn't gentle. It was 3 years of tension igniting all at once. Her hands found his collar, pulling him closer. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, the constant hum of anxiety in her chest went quiet. His hands tangled in her hair. Her back pressed against the elevator wall. Nothing existed except this moment, this terrifying vulnerability. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. "We can't do this," Sophia said, eyes wide. "Sophia, no." The elevator jerked. Regular lights flickered on, harsh and unforgiving. The doors opened onto the lobby. Sophia ran. Behind her, Julian called her name, but she didn't stop, because if she stopped, she would have to face what just happened. And she wasn't ready for that. Not even close. Monday morning tasted like regret and black coffee. Sophia arrived at the office 30 minutes early, dressed in a steel gray suit that felt like armor. Her plan was simple. Avoid Julian, focus on work, pretend Friday never happened. At 9:15, an email appeared. Sender, Julian Hayes. "Sophia, we need to align on the initial framework. Conference room B, 10 a.m. I'll bring coffee. Black, no sugar. The way you always take it." Her finger hovered over delete. Professional obligation 1. She typed one word. Confirmed. The conference room felt smaller when she entered at exactly 10 a.m. Julian was already there. 2 coffees on the table, laptop open, looking every bit the consummate professional, except now she noticed the small tells. The way his hand tightened around his pen when she entered. The slight shift in his posture. The micro-expression that crossed his face before he smoothed it away. "Thank you for coming," he said. Tone carefully neutral. "We have a job to do." She sat across from him. Distance. She needed distance. For an hour, they maintained the facade. Market research, competitor analysis, cultural considerations. Their ideas flowed with surprising synergy, building on each other's insights in ways that would have impressed Rebecca. But the elephant in the room grew larger with each passing minute. Finally, Julian set down his pen. "We need to talk about what happened." "No, we don't."
"Yes,
we do." His voice was firm. "Sophia, I can't work with you if we're both pretending nothing changed." Nothing did change. It was a momentary lapse in judgment. Stress, confined space, heightened emotions. That's all. Julian studied her for a long moment. "Is that really what you think?" "It's what I know." She stood, gathering her materials. "We're professionals. We made a mistake. We moved past it. That's what adults do." She left before he could respond, heart pounding, hands shaking. The next 2 weeks became a dance of avoidance and forced proximity. Scheduled meetings, brief emails, impeccable professional courtesy that felt like glass between them. Then came the Thursday that changed everything. Sophia was working late, the office nearly empty, when her email pinged. Subject line, confidential board review. She opened it. Her blood turned to ice. It was an internal memo from Rebecca Sterling to the board. Accidentally CC'd it as Sophia instead of another executive. The words blurred and sharpened on her screen. Senior Marketing Director position after. Observation of the Hayes-Carter partnership. I'm leaning toward Julian Hayes for the permanent role. While Sophia demonstrates strong execution, Julian shows superior strategic vision and leadership presence. His ability to maintain composure under pressure, particularly during their recent collaboration challenges, indicates he's better suited for senior leadership. Recommendation: promote Hayes. Offer Carter a lateral move to product marketing to soften the blow. Sophia's hands trembled. 3 years. 3 years of sacrifice, of proving herself, of fighting for every inch of respect. A lateral move. To soften the blow, she read it again. Then again. Each word was a knife. Her phone buzzed. "Julian still at the office? I'm on 15. Want to go over the presentation draft?" Something dark and desperate clawed up her throat. She grabbed her bag and headed for the elevator, but not to meet Julian. She needed air. She needed to think. She needed to not fall apart in this building. The parking garage was nearly empty. She walked toward her car, vision blurring with angry tears she refused to let fall. "Sophia." She spun. Julian stood near the elevator, concern etched across his face. You didn't answer? I got worried. Worried? The word came out bitter. That's Rich. What's wrong? Nothing you need to concern yourself with. She turned away. He caught her arm gently. Talk to me, she yanked free. Why? So you can strategize how to use it against me. Superior strategic vision, right? Better suited for leadership? His brow furrowed. What are you talking about? I saw the memo, Julian. Rebecca's recommendation. You're getting the position. I'm getting a lateral move to soften the blow. Understanding dawned across his face, followed by something that looked like genuine distress. Sophia, I didn't know. Of course you didn't. Her laugh was hollow. You never know. You just glide through, being perfect, while the rest of us fight for scraps? That's not fair. Fair. Her voice rose, echoing in the concrete space. Nothing about this is fair. I've worked twice as hard for half the recognition. And now, after everything, after that elevator, after I let myself think maybe you actually saw me as an equal, I find out you've been ahead of me this whole time. I never asked for this, Julian said, his voice tight. I never wanted to compete with you for a position. I wanted... What? To what, Julian? To work with you. Actually with you, not against you. She shook her head, backing toward her car. It doesn't matter what you wanted. It never did. This was always going to end with one of us winning and one of us losing. I just didn't realize the decision was already made. Sophia, wait, but she was already in her car, engine roaring to life. In her rearview mirror, she saw Julian standing alone in the parking garage. Hand raised as if he could call her back. She didn't look back again. That night, Sophia sat in her apartment with a glass of wine she didn't drink, and a decision forming in her mind. If Rebecca wanted strategic vision, she'd get it. If Julian was better at playing the game, then Sophia would change the rules. She opened her laptop and began typing. Not the presentation they were supposed to deliver together. Something else. Something that would prove once and for all that she deserved that position. Even if it meant betraying the partnership. Even if it meant destroying whatever fragile thing had started to grow. Between them, in that elevator, her phone buzzed repeatedly. Julian calling. Julian texting. She silenced it and kept working. By 3 a.m., she had a complete alternative strategy. One that positioned her as the sole visionary. One that quietly highlighted every area where Julian's approach fell short. One that would force Rebecca to reconsider. It was brilliant. It was ruthless. It was survival. She hit send on the email to Rebecca, marked urgent and confidential, then closed her laptop. Her hands were steady, but inside, something that felt dangerously like her heart was fracturing. Tomorrow? Julian would find out what she'd done. Tomorrow. The real competition would begin. Sophia walked into Sterling Technologies Friday morning with her chin up and her conscience buried deep. She'd made her choice. Now she had to live with it. She made it to her office without seeing Julian. Small mercies. At 9:47 a.m., her phone rang. Rebecca Sterling. My office now, and bring Julian Hayes. The line went dead. Sophia's stomach twisted, but she kept her expression neutral as she walked to the executive floor. Julian was already in the hallway outside Rebecca's office, and the look on his face stopped her cold. He knew. You sent her an alternative strategy, he said quietly. Not a question. An accusation. Without telling me, I did what I had to do. We were supposed to be partners. Were we? Sophia's voice was sharp. Or was I just the opening act for your inevitable promotion? His jaw clenched. You don't actually believe that? I believe what I saw in black and white. Now, if you'll excuse me, we have a meeting. She brushed past him and entered Rebecca's office. The older woman sat behind her desk, Sophia's proposal open on her tablet. Expression unreadable. Julian entered behind her. Closing the door with controlled precision, sit, Rebecca commanded. They sat. Miles of space between them. I received an interesting email this morning, Rebecca began. Sophia, you sent me a comprehensive strategy for the European expansion. A solo strategy. Yes, I felt it was important to present alternative approaches, alternative to the partnership I explicitly assigned you. Silence. Rebecca's gaze shifted to Julian. And you? How long have you known about this? I found out this morning, Julian said, his voice carefully controlled. So Sophia went behind your back to undermine the collaboration. Rebecca leaned back. Explain to me, Sophia, why I should consider this anything other than rank insubordination. Sophia's pulse hammered, but she kept her voice steady. Because the strategy is better. Because it's bolder, more innovative, and positions Sterling Technologies to dominate the European market instead of just entering it. You wanted strategic vision? This is it. At the cost of demonstrating you can't work as part of a leadership team? I've spent 3 years proving I can lead. What I refuse to do is fade into the background while someone else takes credit for my work. Julian's head snapped toward her. Is that what you think I would do? It's what the memo said you were better at. Leadership presence. Composure under pressure. I'm just giving Rebecca what she clearly wants. A direct comparison. Rebecca held up a hand. That memo was confidential. It was also accidentally sent to me. And rather than discuss it with me or with Julian, you decided to sabotage the partnership. The word hung in the air like smoke. Sabotage. Was that what she'd done? Rebecca stood. Here's what's going to happen. You have until Monday morning to decide if you want to continue this partnership or formally withdraw from consideration for the senior director position. Because make no mistake, Sophia, if you can't work with Julian, you won't work in senior leadership at this company. We don't promote lone wolves. She gestured to the door. Both of you out. And figure out what you actually want from your careers and from each other. The hallway felt like a gauntlet. Sophia walked quickly, but Julian kept pace. That was a hell of a move, he said, voice low and dangerous. You would have done the same? No. He stopped, forcing her to face him. I wouldn't have. Because despite what you think, despite that memo you saw, I've never wanted to compete with you, Sophia. I wanted to work with you. Build something with you. In that elevator, you said, competing with me was the best part of your day, because it meant being near you, he shot back. Because every argument, every challenge, every moment of tension was the only way I got to really see you. The only time your walls came down enough for me to catch a glimpse of who you actually are. She shook her head. You don't know me? I know you're scared. I know you think if you stop fighting, you'll lose everything. I know you grew up believing you had to claw your way to survival, and that instinct is so deep you can't tell the difference between a threat and an opportunity anymore. The words struck like bullets. Too accurate. Too close. Don't psychoanalyze me. Then don't sabotage us. There is no us, Julian. There's a promotion one of us will get, and one of us won't. That's reality, is it? He stepped closer. Or is that just the story you tell yourself so you don't have to admit you're terrified of wanting? Something other than success? Of wanting someone? Her breath caught. You're delusional, am I? Then why did you kiss me back in that elevator? Why did you pull me closer? Why did you look at me like I was air and you were drowning? Because I made a mistake. No. His voice dropped, intimate and raw. You made a choice. And it scared you so badly you've spent 2 weeks trying to destroy what we started. What we started. She laughed bitterly. We started a rivalry 3 years ago. Everything else is just collateral damage. She turned to leave, but his next words stopped her. I turned down the promotion. She froze. What? This morning. Before I even knew about your proposal. I called Rebecca and withdrew my name from consideration. He moved around to face her. I told her you deserved it, that your campaigns have been more innovative, your results more consistent, and your dedication more absolute than anyone else in that building. Sophia stared at him, her entire worldview tilting. Why would you do that? Because it's true, and because I'm tired of this game where we both lose by winning. You're lying. Check with Rebecca. Her hands trembled. This didn't make sense. People didn't just give up opportunities like this. There had to be an angle, a strategy, a trick. Why? She demanded. Why would you sacrifice your career for mine? Julian's expression softened, and for the first time, she saw past all his carefully constructed walls to something vulnerable underneath. Because somewhere between hating you and competing with you and being trapped in an elevator with you, I fell in love with you, he said simply. And I'd rather lose a promotion than watch you tear yourself apart trying to prove you deserve something you've already earned. The confession hung in the air between them. Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. This was manipulation. It had to be. People didn't just confess love in office hallways. They didn't sacrifice their ambitions for someone who'd just betrayed them. I don't believe you, she whispered. Pain flashed across his face. I know. He stepped back, creating distance. The proposal you sent Rebecca? It's brilliant. It's everything she wants. You'll get the promotion, Sophia. You'll get everything you fought for. His smile was sad. I just hope it's enough. He walked away, leaving her standing alone in the empty hallway, her victory suddenly tasting like ash. That night, Sophia sat in her apartment with her laptop open to her proposal. The one that would secure her future. The one that had cost her Julian. She read through it, seeing now how every brilliant insight had a shadow. How every bold strategy carried an echo of Julian's ideas from their sessions together. How nothing she'd created existed in a vacuum, separate from him. Her phone buzzed. An email from Rebecca? Reviewed your proposal? Impressive work. Let's discuss Monday morning. Come prepared to accept the senior director position. She should feel triumphant, vindicated, victorious instead. This one from Julian. Congratulations, you earned it. 3 words. No bitterness. No accusation. Just acknowledgement. She stared at the message until her vision blurred. And for the first time in 3 years, Sophia Carter let herself cry. Not from frustration. Not from stress. From the devastating realization that she'd won the battle, but lost something infinitely more valuable in the process. Monday morning arrived. With the weight of inevitability, Sophia dressed in her sharpest suit, applied her armor of makeup, and walked into Sterling Technologies, ready to accept everything she'd fought for. The senior director position. The validation. The proof that she was enough. So why did her chest feel like it was caving in? Rebecca's office door was open. Sophia knocked once and entered. Sit, Rebecca said, gesturing to the chair. I've reviewed your proposal extensively. It's bold, innovative, and exactly the kind of strategic thinking we need for European expansion. Thank you. Which makes what I'm about to say more difficult. Rebecca folded her hands on the desk. I'm not giving you the position. Right. The words landed like a physical blow. I'm sorry. Your proposal was brilliant. Your execution has been flawless for 3 years. But leadership isn't about being the smartest person in the room, Sophia. It's about bringing out the best in others, building teams, creating something larger than yourself. I can do that. Can you? Rebecca's gaze was piercing. Because from where I'm sitting, you just demonstrated that the moment you feel threatened, your instinct is to go solo. To protect yourself at the expense of collaboration. That's not a senior leader. That's a survivor. Distinction cut deep because it was true. Julian withdrew from consideration. Rebecca continued. Do you know why? Sophia's throat tightened. He told me. Told you he turned it down. But did he tell you what else he did? Rebecca pulled up an email on her screen. After he withdrew, he sent me a detailed analysis of why you should get the promotion. He documented every campaign you've led, every innovation you've brought to the team, every instance where your strategic thinking elevated a project. He made a case for you that was more compelling than anything you've ever made for yourself. Tears burned behind Sophia's eyes. She blinked them back. That's leadership, Rebecca said quietly. Recognizing talent, elevating it. Sacrificing personal gain for the greater good of the organization and the people you care about. So Julian gets the position because he withdrew from it? The logic made her head spin. No, I'm restructuring the entire department. Julian is being promoted to VP of Marketing Strategy, a newly created position. And I'm promoting someone else to Senior Director. Someone who's been with the company for 8 years and actually knows how to build a team. Sophia felt the ground shift beneath her. I don't understand. You and Julian both failed this test, Sophia. You went solo instead of collaborating. He withdrew instead of competing. Neither of you demonstrated the balance we need, so neither of you gets what you thought you wanted. The silence stretched like a chasm. However, Rebecca continued, I'm not blind to your talents or your potential. So I'm offering you a choice. Take the lateral move to product marketing, which comes with a significant raise and puts you on a leadership track. Or stay in your current role and watch your career plateau because you can't get out of your own way. Sophia stared at her hands. 3 years. 3 years of sacrifice, and this was what it came to. A participation trophy and a gentle reminder that she wasn't enough. Think about it, Rebecca said. But I need an answer by end of day. Sophia left the office in a daze. The hallway seemed longer, the lights harsher. She walked past her own office, past the conference rooms, past everything familiar until she found herself on the roof access stairwell. The door shouldn't have been unlocked. But it was. She pushed through and stepped onto the building's maintenance roof, wind whipping her hair. Chicago sprawled below, indifferent and vast. She'd lost. Not just the promotion. Something bigger. Something that mattered more than she'd wanted to admit. I thought I might find you here, she turned. Julian stood in the doorway, the wind plastering his shirt against his chest. How did you know? Because it's where I came after my meeting with Rebecca. He walked closer but kept distance between them. She told you about the VP position? Congratulations. The word tasted hollow. I turned it down. Sophia's head snapped up. What? I told her to restructure without me. I'm leaving Sterling Technologies. You're insane. That's a massive promotion. It's also not what I want. He looked out over the city. I've spent 3 years chasing a goal I thought mattered. Competing, strategizing, climbing. And you know what I realized? I don't even remember why I wanted it in the first place. So you're just giving up. No, I'm choosing something different. He finally looked at her. I got an offer from a startup in San Francisco. They want someone to build their marketing department from the ground up. It's a risk. Lower pay? No guaranteed outcome. But it's mine. Sophia felt something crack in her chest. When do you leave? 2 weeks. 2 weeks? 14 days. Then he'd be gone, and she'd have her lateral move and her safe career track, and absolutely nothing that made her feel alive. Why are you telling me this? Julian stepped closer. Because I need you to understand something. What I said on Friday about falling in love with you, that wasn't manipulation. It wasn't strategy. It was the truth. And I'm done pretending it wasn't. Julian, let me finish. His voice was raw. You scare the hell out of me, Sophia. You're brilliant and fierce and so determined to prove you don't need anyone that you've built walls. I don't know how to breach. But I'm tired of competing with you. I'm tired of this game where we both lose. So I'm leaving, and I'm asking you to come with me. The world tilted. What? Come to San Francisco. Not for me. Not because I'm asking, but because maybe there's something out there. It's bigger than climbing a ladder at a company that will never appreciate what you're worth. Maybe there's a version of your life where you don't have to fight for every inch of respect, where you can build something that's actually yours. You want me to throw away 3 years of my career for a maybe? I want you to stop sacrificing your happiness for a promotion that will never make you feel like enough. His eyes held hers. But it's your choice. It's always been your choice. He turned to leave. Wait, he stopped. Sophia's mind raced. Every logical instinct screamed at her to stay, to take the lateral move, to rebuild and try again. That was survival. That was smart, but survival wasn't living. If I say no, she said carefully, if I stay here, what happens to you? I leave anyway. This isn't about winning you, Sophia. It's about living a life I actually want, with or without you. The honesty of it broke something in her. Because for the first time, someone was offering her a choice that wasn't about proving her worth. It was about choosing her own path. I need time, she whispered. You have until my flight leaves. He pulled a paper from his pocket and handed it to her. 2 weeks from Thursday. 6 p.m. Gate information's on there. He walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Sophia, you're already enough. You always have been. I just wish you could see it. Then he was gone. And she was alone on the roof with a piece of paper that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Below her, Chicago hummed with ambition and competition and everyone fighting for their piece of the dream. Above her, the sky stretched endless and blue, and in her hand, she held a choice that would determine everything. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. Sophia accepted Rebecca's offer. The lateral move to product marketing came with a new office, a new team, and the same hollow feeling in her chest that no amount of professional success could fill. She saw Julian exactly 3 times during his notice period. Each encounter was professionally cordial and personally devastating. He'd smile that sad smile, and she'd feel her carefully constructed world crack a little more. She told herself she'd made the right choice, the safe choice, the smart choice. She told herself this until she almost believed it. Thursday arrived with cruel sunshine. Sophia sat in her new office, staring at quarterly reports she couldn't focus on. Her phone showed for 4:47 p.m. Julian's flight was at 6 p.m. She wasn't going to the airport. That would be insane, impulsive. Everything she'd spent years training herself not to be. At 5:15 p.m., her mother called. "Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. You sounded strange last time we talked." Sophia closed her eyes. "I'm fine, Mom. You're always fine, even when you're not. You know what I remember about your father? Before he left, he was always chasing the next thing, the next job, the next opportunity, the next version of success. And I kept telling myself that if I just waited, if I just proved I was worth staying for, he'd choose me." Sophia's throat tightened. "Mom, he didn't choose me. Not because I wasn't enough, but because he was so busy chasing what he thought he should want that he couldn't see what he actually needed. I don't want that for you, baby. I don't want you to wake up one day and realize you've climbed the wrong ladder. I have to go," Sophia whispered. "I know. I love you." The line went dead. Sophia looked at her office. Her desk, her carefully organized career, everything she'd fought for. Then she looked at her watch. 5:32 p.m. OHARE Airport was 40 minutes away. In rush hour traffic, probably more like an hour, she'd never make it, but her hands were already grabbing her bag. Her feet were already moving. Her heart was already pounding with something that felt terrifyingly like hope. She ran through the office, into the elevator, pressing the lobby button 17 times, as if that would make it move faster. Out into the street, where she flagged a taxi with the desperation of someone who'd finally figured out what mattered. O'Hare International Terminal. And please hurry. Traffic crawled. Lights took forever. Every minute felt like an hour, and Sophia watched the clock on her. Phone ticked closer and closer to 6 p.m. 5:54. They were still 15 minutes away. "I'll give you an extra $100 if you can. Get me there in the next 5 minutes," she told the driver. He looked at her in the rearview mirror, then grinned. "Hold on." The taxi wove through traffic with controlled chaos. Sophia gripped the door handle, her breath coming in short gasps. 5:58. The terminal appeared. She threw money at the driver and ran, heels clicking against pavement, bag bouncing against her hip. Security lines stretched forever. She wanted to scream. Instead, she pulled out her phone and texted Julian with shaking fingers. "Don't get on that plane, no." Response. She made it through security at 6:04, her heart sinking. She'd missed him. Of course she'd missed him. This was what happened when you waited until the last possible second to be brave. She ran anyway. Through the terminal, dodging travelers, following signs to international gates, Gate 47. She rounded the corner and stopped. The gate was empty. The plane was gone. Sophia stood there, chest heaving, vision blurring with tears she'd held back for 2 weeks. She'd been too late, too scared, too careful. "You're a disaster when you run in heels," she spun. Julian sat in the waiting area of the adjacent gate, carry-on at his feet, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. "You missed your flight," she said stupidly. "I rebooked for tomorrow morning," stood slowly. "I got your text. Why didn't you answer?" "Because I wanted to see if you'd come anyway." Sophia moved closer, her entire body trembling. "I made a choice. I can see that. It's probably the wrong choice. It's definitely the impulsive choice. It's the choice that makes no logical sense. And my mother would tell me I'm being reckless. And Rebecca would say I'm throwing away my career. And every rational part of my brain is screaming at me to turn around and go back to my safe, sensible life." Julian waited. "But I don't want safe," Sophia continued, her voice breaking. "I don't want sensible. I want to build something that's mine. With someone who sees me, who challenges me, who makes me want to be brave even when it's terrifying." "Sophia, I want you," she said. "I want San Francisco and startups, and risk, and all of it. But mostly I just want to stop fighting against the only person who ever made me feel like I didn't have to prove I was enough." Julian closed the distance between them in 3 strides. His hands cupped her face, and when he kissed her, it wasn't desperate or urgent like the elevator. It was sure, steady, like coming home. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "You're sure about this?" he murmured. "Because there's no promotion waiting in San Francisco. No guaranteed success. Just 2 people trying to build something from nothing." "I'm terrified," she admitted. "But I'm more terrified of spending the rest of my life wondering what could have happened if I'd been brave enough to choose you." "Not me," Julian corrected gently. "Us. Choose us." Sophia smiled, real and genuine and unguarded for perhaps the first time in 3 years. "Yes," she agreed. They stood there in the airport terminal, travelers flowing around them like water around stones. And Sophia felt the constant anxiety that had lived in her chest for so long, finally quiet. This wasn't the ending she'd planned. It wasn't safe or sensible or any of the things she'd thought she wanted, but as Julian took her hand, and they walked toward the exit together, leaving behind everything familiar for something unknown, Sophia realized something profound. She'd spent 3 years climbing a ladder that led nowhere she actually wanted to go. Maybe it was time to build her own. 2 months later, Sophia stood in a small office in San Francisco, surrounded by whiteboards covered in strategy notes and empty coffee cups. Julian was across the room, arguing passionately with their new developer about user interface design. Her phone buzzed. An email from Rebecca Sterling. Heard about the startup. Brave move. When you inevitably succeed and need corporate funding for expansion, call me. Sterling Technologies invests in winners. PS. You were always enough. Glad you finally figured that out. Sophia smiled and looked up to find Julian watching her, that familiar, competitive gleam in his eye. "What?" she asked. "Just thinking about how I'm going to make sure my campaign outperforms yours next quarter. You want to bet on it?" She laughed, the sound genuine and free. "Always. Because some competitions weren't about winning or losing. They were about finding someone who made you want to be better, braver, more yourself." And Sophia Carter had finally stopped running long, enough to realize she'd found that in the last person she ever expected, in the only person who'd ever really seen her. The end.